Lesson 5 for Civil 3D is how to create points. Points are an essential part of surveying and exporting for setting out. I'm going to just try and briefly discuss how we add a point, code it, and then export it. Firstly, we need to start a new drawing using the CMS template, Civil 3D. And in the Home tab, top left, you'll see points. If I click on the points, create point insertion tool, we'll have this box that'll come up. There's actually default settings, but I'm not going to go into that. We'll just leave it as is. And if you want to manually, there's many different ways in which you can add your points. So miscellaneous, intersection direction, and so on. Anyway, I'm just going to manually put in some points, which I have now created for office calculations. So for instance, you'll be given a new Excel spreadsheet with all the new codes, and there'll be an office calc codes separated from these. These would consist of construction, grid, boundary, connection, and proposed, and they'll have an abbreviated code for these. You'll receive these shortly, but I'll try and go through the 5 codes and then export these to a CSV file. So in the points creation, we want to manually create it, and it's asked us for the specific location. And I know the location you can either put it in for eastings and northings. I'm just going to click on any point, and I'm going to give it the description. So for this, I'm going to give it the description of connection, which we call as a CONN. And it's asked me for an elevation. I actually don't want to give this one an elevation, so I just click enter. And I now know that my point number is 0.1, and I now have a connection point there. So for my next point, I'm going to actually want to give this, it's going to be a boundary. So we've abbreviated this as BDY, and then actually going to give this an elevation of 10 meters. That goes specifically coded with your point number and code. So I'm just going to quickly go through, and the next one point is going to be a grid, and again, no elevation. We will then go to construction, CONST, elevation, no elevation, and sleeve. We're going to make our proposed point, so PROP, new location. Sorry, I'll redo that code. Point description is PROP, and actually the elevation is going to be 100. All these should show you basically the example of all the different ways in which codes can be brought in. These codes, if we right click on the code in your properties dialog box, it should specify all the information you need to know regarding this point, including point number. When these points are being created, in your tool space, under Prospector, you highlight points. In the points here, we'll actually specify all these point numbers 1 to 5 that we've created. It'll actually then show the easting and northing and height and the raw description. Now to export those, you simply right click on the points and go export, and then depending on how you want to export these points, we would basically say the point number, easting, northing, and Z value, and it can even have the Z value and description. So the PENZD is which one we will do. Destination file. For this, I'm just going to give it a test CMS output file. Open it there and go OK. Then if I minimize, here you'll see the output point files 1 to 5 showing your point, easting, northing, your Z value, and your code. That concludes this lesson 5, points, creating points and exporting them.